Danielle, can you try one more time for a test, please?
Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing.
Council members, can y'all hear that okay? All right. It's light, but we can hear you, Danielle. Thank you for your assistance.
What else is going on, I'll introduce you to my grandson and let him be embarrassed. This is my grandson from Wisconsin there. I hadn't seen him in about a year, and he's 15 and having a good time. I'm going to be here visiting with us for 2 weeks. And now he's turning red in the face. All right. Is everything on? All right. Good evening. We're glad you're all here. This is Tuesday, June the 27th, 2023, regular City Council meeting of the City of Rockport City Council. Call the meeting to order and ask you stand with us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Brad.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Have a couple of fun things to do right quick before we get around to business. First of all, our guest is here. We'll have a proclamation making this Kent Ullberg Day for the 30th of June in Rockport, so we're a little bit behind on when we got the paperwork done, but we're glad to have you here, sir. It's great to have you. I'll read this for you. Whereas Kent Ullberg, native of Sweden, is recognized as one of the world's foremost wildlife sculptors, and whereas Kent Ullberg is a member of numerous art organizations and has been honored with many prestigious awards, in 1990 his peers elected him as full academician. I looked that word up to see if I could say it right because I looked at it and thought it had something to do with academy, and it didn't. Making him the first wildlife artist since John James Audubon to receive one of the greatest tributes in American art. And whereas Kent Ullberg is best known for his monumental works executed for museums and municipalities across the globe, and whereas Kent Ullberg's Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and Omaha, Nebraska installations are the largest bronze wildlife compositions ever done, spanning several city blocks, and whereas the Florida and Nebraska installations earned Kent Ullberg the coveted Henry Herring Medal Award for the National Sculpture Society in New York City, and whereas Kent Ullberg, a resident of Padre Island, Texas, has installed more than 100 public sculptures in the United States and internationally, including 21 of them on display in the Coastal Bend, of which 3 are owned by Rockport Center for the Arts as part of the permanent collection. And whereas Kent Ullberg has been part of the Rockport art community for more than 40 years, and whereas Kent Ullberg is a contemporary of the Rockport gang that included sporting artist legends John P. Cowan, Herb Booth, and Al Barnes, and whereas Kent Ullberg has been named Master Artist of the 2023 Rockport Art Festival. Now in its 55th year, the festival has grown to become one of the most respected and longest running juried art festivals in the United States. And whereas Kent Ullberg's solo exhibition titled Feathers and Flippers presented by Tito's Homemade Vodka, is on display at Rockport Center for the Arts, HEB Gallery through August the 6th, 2023. Now therefore it is proclaimed that the City Council of the City of Rockport, Texas does hereby declare Friday, June the 30th, 2023 as Kent Ullberg Day in the City of Rockport, and call upon the citizens of Rockport to recognize and congratulate him on his being selected as Master Artist for the 2023 Rockport Art Festival, in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the Great Seal of the City of Rockport to be affixed this the 27th day of June, 2023. If you'll step over this way, we'll get a picture of us smiling, and it's wonderful to have you here. Up here with the flags and all. You may not be used to high quality equipment. Thank you so very much. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you. I've been part of this town for quite a while.
Thank you, sir. We admire you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much indeed. And thank you for supporting the law. All town. And you guys are fantastic. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And you got all the time you want. If you'd like to tell us anything else, if you get the microphone, they'll hear you real well. But thank you. We appreciate you.
That's plenty of time.
Yes, sir, you do. Go right ahead. You're an honored guest. Have us.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Well, I've been part of Rockport for more than 40 years. And like you read, I've celebrated and exhibited with artists, here, with all the old artist friends and stuff that are now gone. And when the hurricane happened, our art center got wiped out, Well, I was also part of the sculpture park. I installed the first whooping crane sculpture there and stuff, and started the park. But when the art center got wiped out, we thought that was the end of art scene in Rockport. And then we get the fantastic new art center. Incredible. 2 city blocks wide. And it's thanks to Luis Perón. He's a bloody genius. I worked in museums on 3 continents, and I never met anybody like Luis. So
We agree with you. Yes, sir.
yes, thanks to Luis. Applause for Luis. And thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir. All right. Next thing, we have another proclamation. This is for Parks and Recreation Month, the month of July 2023. And half of our parks, well, maybe more than half of our parks, I said as much as they work today in all this heat, I wouldn't have been here. I'd be home sitting in front of a fan or something, but thank y'all for being here. Proclamation for Parks and Wildlife and Recreation. Whereas Parks and Recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout the country, including the city of Rockport, and whereas Parks and Recreation promotes health and wellness, improving physical and mental health for people who live near parks, and whereas Parks and Recreation promotions time spent in nature, which positively impacts mental health by increasing cognitive performance and well-being, and whereas Parks and Recreation encourages physical activities by providing space for popular sports, hiking trails, swimming pools, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles. And whereas Parks and Recreation is a leading provider of healthy meals, nutrition services, and education, and whereas Parks and Recreation programming and education activities such as out-of-school time programming, youth sports, environmental education are critical to childhood development, and whereas Parks and Recreation increases a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas Parks and Recreation is fundamental to the environmental well-being of the community, and whereas Parks and Recreation is essential and adaptable infrastructure that makes our communities resilient in the face of natural disasters and climate change, and whereas Parks and Natural Recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and whereas the City of Rockport recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council that July 2023 is recognized as Parks and Recreation Month in the City of Rockport. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the great seal of the city to be affixed on this, the 27th day of June, 2023. Gene, if you and your folks will meet over there, we'll take the spread out picture of us all.
Mayor, I'd just like to say that Joe Wright, who manages our pool, is not here this evening because he's being recognized in Corpus at the American Red Cross Volunteer Awards banquet for our event. So he does a great job.
I think I said Parks and Wildlife a little while ago. If they were here, they could get part of it too, but they weren't. All right. Next on the agenda is citizens to be heard. At this time, comments limited to 3 minutes will be taken from the audience from persons who have signed the speaker's card located at the table in the back of the training room of the service center and delivered to the city secretary before the meeting begins, or written comments received by 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting on any agenda item or subject matter, and they will be read in the meeting. Persons wishing to address the council who have registered using the citizen participation form will have up to 3 minutes to speak. In accordance with Open Meetings Act, council may not discuss or take any action on any item that's not been posted on the agenda. While civil public criticism is not prohibited, disorderly conduct or disturbance of the peace as prohibited by law shall be cause for the chair to terminate the offender's time to speak. I have 2 cards. First, Skip Carrier. Would you come up to the microphone and give us your name and address and tell us what you're here for, sir?
It's a pleasant thing. Skip Carrier, 122 Cedar Ridge, Rockport. After 5 years and 10 months, the city and the county showed up at our issue with the palm trees in the ditch, and they did a bang-up job. And I just want to recognize those guys that worked on it, because we're more than delighted. And that's about it. You shut off a lot that I would say, but this is a very pleasant occasion. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Also, next I have Doug Webb of 130 Lamar. If you come to the mic and tell us who you are and give us your address again, sir.
Sir. Mr. Mayor, Councilman, City Manager, staff, and citizens, I'm Doug Webb. I live at 130 Lamar Drive in Rockport, registered voter. Sure glad I didn't have to follow Mr. Ullberg, because my rap sheet's not even that long. While being a member of the Charter Review Committee, I learned a lot about the problems in Rockport. I have noticed that most of the problems were caused by previous city council, and y'all were left here to fix these things like sewers, water, and the annexation problem, and many other things. And I believe that you people are going to do the right thing and for the citizens. I believe you always will. And in the past, I have said something about money is an interesting word. And why is an interesting word? And almost always the answer to why is money. Why don't I have a newer car? Money, everything. And I believe that's where we got in trouble in previous city councils. I believe I'll be meeting, let's see, where am I here? I believe city council is going to do the best for the citizens, and I plan to help. I will be meeting with Ms. Schauner and my ward representative, Stephanie Real, next week, I hope, as soon as I can. And there is going to be a petition to allow citizens to speak at every agenda item. It's going to happen. It's going to pass. It was not put on the ballots. The only thing of there was 26 items, and 25 of them were put on the ballot for the citizens to make their decision. That one was not. And I believe it was not put on because it would have failed miserably. And it's not going to be hard to get the petition and get whatever number, 5%, 150, 500, doesn't matter. This is going to happen. And I would like to see you, hopefully, that we can get a resolution from the board to change this without going through this. And that's what I have to say tonight, and I thank you for your time and service.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Before we get to action items, I want to establish the presence of a quorum. We'll have a roll call of the wards. Ward 1. Ward 2.
Here.
Ward 3. Here. Ward 4.
Here.
Mayor here. Next item on the agenda is consent agenda. All consent agenda items listed are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Does anyone wish to have any of these items removed?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I have a motion to approve. I have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Not, I'll call for a vote. Ward 1. Aye. Ward 2.
Aye.
Ward 3.
Aye.
Ward 4.
Aye.
Mayor, aye. Passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is a regular agenda. Deliberate and act on the Texas Municipal League Health Benefits Rerate Notice for active employees and pre-65 retired employees not eligible for Medicare.
Mayor and council, you have a pretty extensive write-up in your packet. However, our re-rate at our current policy was offered to us at 12%. We have the option to raise our deductible from $1,500 to $2,000 and raise our max out of pocket from $5,000 to $6,000 and only have an increase of 5.2%. The re-rate at 12% would cost the city about $140,000, and then the re-rate at the 5.24% would be about $64,000, about half. We think that we'd like to go with what we're calling option 1, as it will affect the employee's paycheck the least, whereby the deductible being raised would affect it over time, but we're talking about the day-to-day, and then the max out-of-pocket for $1,000. The same thing is for the dependents. We can do a 12% increase for the employees that have dependents, or a 5.24% increase. And you can see the difference in your packet, $167 for employee and spouse per paycheck, or an increase of $73.08 if we take option 1. The life insurance goes, the option 1, same thing. It's going through the whole thing. The only thing is that doesn't change is the vision, the dental, about a $2.96 increase per employee, so it's minimal as well. None of the choices are great, but we think the option 1 is the best, and we'd like your permission to proceed with that.
Any questions?
Mary, yes. Go ahead.
Do we offer like an HSA?
We do.
We do?
I think you can put up to, is it 2,500 a year in it? We
Does the
do.
city contribute to that?
We do not.
We do not.
Okay. It's all employee contributed, pre-tax, of course.
Is that something we could look at in budget? I mean, I don't know if it would hit this year, but to help offset some of these increased costs.
Absolutely. We can look at anything. As we flesh out our numbers, we'll see where some wiggle room is, and it'll be one of the options on the table.
I'm good with what you're suggesting here, but if it works out, if we could look at some kind of city contribution to an HSA or something to help offset some of these increased costs to the employee.
Yep, I understand. We'll look at it.
Okay.
See what we can do.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
Yeah, what's the
Total current budget amount and then the difference for option one,
I'm sorry, say that again?
like our current budget amount and then the difference for applying option one.
So
Like total,
our current amount would be, huh?
I don't think she prepared.
She didn't prepare the current amount. The increase for option one is $64,148 dollars, but I don't have the current number. I apologize.
do you have an idea of the increase over our current budget?
Right, so if someone wants to math that 5.25% is $64,148,000.
Other questions?
I can get that number for you. Huh? Yep, I'll send it to you tomorrow.
Anything else?
Okay.
Do I have a motion?
motion to approve agenda item number?
I have a motion, do I have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second, any further questions? If not, we'll call for a vote, Ward 1,
Aye.
Ward 2,
Aye.
Ward 3,
Aye.
Ward 4.
Aye.
Mayor, aye, unanimous. Next item on the agenda, deliberate and act on approval of change order 1 through 5 as they relate to the new City Hall project.
Mayor, Council, thank you. Presenting tonight, we are providing you not only the historical items 1 through 4 that have already been approved, but the most current change order number 5. And we were bringing that to y'all because it is of a significant amount. The previous ones have been lesser. They were either to our favor or of only $11,000 against us, but this last one was $81,000 and some change for change order number 5. So we wanted to make sure we were transparent with y'all and bring those forward. I did not put all of the details in the package because it is a stack of papers about 1.5 inches thick. So if y'all have any questions in detail, we do have Broadus and Teal both here if you have questions on the details, but we did have the summaries in your packets. The total of the budget is still for construction $15,505,850. This is still within budget of the total funds provided. So it is not taking us above the budget. It is still within budget, and we still have funds available in case there are any other increases.
All right.
I see that how I read it, the electrical is about 60,000, something that was like mostly electrical. Can we just
Maybe a little more details of why we had to, why that increase was such a high increase on those?
Would you like me to go through all of them or just the last ones?
Just like a summary, like an overview of why that increase was so high on there.
Okay. I believe you're looking to, on change order number 5.
5, yes, change order number 5, I'm sorry.
And it's change proposal request number 13. And that does have to do with the electrical and mechanical yard changes. So in the beginning, we did a deduct of about a little over 200,000 for moving the generator from on top of the roof down to ground level, and we had to put it in a enclosure, thank you. And so moving all of that down, there is electrical cost, and we did not, in our original deduct of over 200,000, that was not in that figure. So this was coming back and adding those in there. Am I correct? Got my head shakes, yes.
So we deducted about 2 and we're adding back about 81 for the generator item.
Okay.
Originally, it was a deduct of 252,000, and now this one is an add-on of 61,000 and some change.
If we isolate the generator, it's actually to our benefit because we removed it down, taking some of that money back.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Right, anyone else?
This does cut into your wiggle room a little bit, huh?
It does cut my wiggle room. Yes, sir. On page 2 of the attachment, there is 2 numbers that we are watching constantly. One of them is the total revenue versus the change orders to date, and those are still within range. I still have a delta of 119,535, and we're still saving money within the soft cost as much as possible. So
I believe it did add 141 days, work days, is that right? Or what did I read?
we did increase the work days, so instead of us having a significant closure in September, it will be significantly complete in the end of January.
January, okay.
And the delays have to do with the elevator. The elevator is a little late, but the control panels for the elevators will not be here till mid-December.
Okay.
And then once those are installed, they still have to be, have the state come down and do all their inspections.
Other questions?
Thank you.
Do you have any concern for potential?
We'll need for additional change orders moving forward that may increase.
We are still working on a couple items. Some of them are to the good, some of them to the bad. We're still playing with those. I'm anticipating at least one more, but I'm hoping it's combined into our good. So we're working on that, though. We are working with Teal and Broadus very closely.
And you believe by completion, we should be able to stay within the budget, or do you project?
We are staying within the budget,
Okay.
ma'am.
Other questions? Okay. Do I have a motion?
Danielle, do you have anything? Move to approve item 9 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion second. Any further discussion? If not, we'll call for a vote. Ward 1?
Aye.
Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4?
Aye.
Mayor, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, deliberate and act on awarding the bid for the installation of a 12-inch wastewater force main from the Gagon Lift Station to the Wastewater Treatment Plant. Mike?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. This is fun stuff. This is part of the unspent bond funds that we've been working with probably over the last 2 years. This was a project that was originally planned back in '07 with the bond funds. And this will lay 3,000 feet of 12-inch PVC force main in the street right-of-way from the existing Gagon Lift Station to be tied in at the wastewater treatment plant. It's replacing an old 8-inch main that was taken out of service many years ago, and it will also run parallel to an existing 12-inch force main along Gagon Street from the lift station, which is there at the Laurel Street complex, and then go all the way down to the wastewater treatment plant. The bid came in over the engineer's estimate, and again, remember the estimate was several years old, so today's prices increased it. We have a bid tabulation form. There was only one bidder, and I have the recommendation letter is in your packet from our engineer, and it says the one bid received exceeded the engineer's estimate and unfortunately reflects the recent bidding climate. We have had trouble on other projects getting multiple bidders. Back in May, we sent out invitations to 4 bid rooms and 4 planned rooms and 3 vendors and 3 contractors, and received multiple inquiries. But after speaking with some of the interested parties, they just told us they did not have the capacity to take on the project at the time. So we had multiple people that showed interest, but only one actually came in and submitted a bid. And it's the recommendation of our engineer and the staff to award the bid to J.J. Fox Construction for the total base bid amount of $384,265.
We're not uncomfortable with the bid, only having one bidder, but Mike, would you talk about where you're gonna take that extra increment from that is over the allocated?
Right, what we're doing is we're looking at the allocated bond funds back in 07, 09, and I don't remember the other years, but 07 and 09. We had some projects that we had identified to move forward with. One of them was a water line replacement on Austin Street. We've talked about that multiple times, about the timing of that water line replacement to be in conjunction with hopefully money to be found to remill and resurface Austin Street. Our water department has been looking at an alternate route for that water line, where we can do an alternate route that would be less money than what was allocated in the bond allocation. And we'll take some of that money from that bond allocation to pay the difference in this bid and use the additional funds for the reroute project in the future. So all we're doing is using the unspent bond funds. What it might bring to the table in the future is some of those other projects, there may not be enough money to do all of them. We've got a 35-year-old valve on a lift station. It's Rockport Country Club Lift Station number 1. It's an old valve. It needs to be replaced. It's $55,000. If we go through this process and we have that $55,000, we're going to replace that valve. If we don't, we're going to look at next fiscal year to see if we can find $55,000 in our maintenance budget to replace that valve. But our recommendation is to let us spend some additional funds out of the unspent bond funds to do this project so we can move forward.
Don't anticipate not having the money to do the things that you have approved. If for some reason we can't, that will come back to you. Right now, we're just moving from the one water project, the additional increment. This project. We still think we'll have the money to complete the water line. There's not any detriment right now to not having money for the projects that we're approved.
Questions?
I'm a little nervous about the single bid, but I think that's just the world we're living in right now. We got burned on one recently, but this contractor is local and is well known to the city and the county, so I feel comfortable that they're not going to burn us.
Absolutely, this is a local contractor that has done multiple jobs for the city of Rockport, and his work is solid, and the engineers believe in him also.
All right. Other questions?
I know. What was the time frame in which you seeked bids? Like how much time, was allocated to receive bids?
Let me see, it says here, the bids were opened on June the 16th, and I think that they were advertised twice within the paper, so that's a 4-week trend. So there was about 6 weeks where the bids were out on the street and in the bedrooms and everything. So there was.
We did have 2 no bids on it,
Yeah.
so there were
Yeah.
2 other contractors that consciously said, we got your information, we just are not.
They were verbal no bids. They contacted us and told us they just don't have the capacity at this time to take on the job.
Other questions?
I move to approve item 10 as presented.
Have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and second. Any further question? Now we'll call for a vote. Ward 1.
Aye.
Ward 2.
Aye.
Ward 3.
Aye.
Ward 4.
Aye.
Mayor, aye. Passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is city manager report.
Speaking of those unspent bond funds, I have the updated list for you guys. Of course, they are not being spent, I guess, as expediently as highlighted in green everything that's completed, and we've tried to make notes on things that are postponed. We talked about last time, the shade structure over the basketball court. The quote came in excessively high, so we were gonna put a hold on that and maybe reallocate those funds, maybe look for another funding source to complete it. But we haven't circled back to that. As you know, we have a new parks director and relatively new city manager, so we're still working some things out. These funds do have to be allocated by the end of 2024 and spent by 2026. So we will meet that deadline regardless, and we'll work diligently to do that. I expect things to pick up pretty soon moving through these projects. I don't see any hold up on meeting those timelines. But I'll answer questions if you have any on this, or you can see me later after you study it. The other thing is we're not going to have a July budget workshop, so you can mark that off your calendar. We'll have one in August. We'll have some more firmed up numbers for y'all then, and then you will have your hot funds binders by Friday, and then we will go through those items at the next regularly scheduled meetings, which is July 8th. So 11th. Girl.
July 11th, so we're not
Okay.
having that workshop on July 11th?
We are not gonna have a budget workshop on July 11th, but we will do the hot fund allocation on that day. We'll do the budget workshop in August, whatever day it's scheduled in August.
So are we still, so we're not gonna have any kind of?
11th is a regular meeting.
No, yeah, I understand, but on August 3rd is when we have our 2-day, I think it's the 3rd of August.
I think that's right, we'll still
We
have that.
the 2-day, you're just throwing it all into the 2-day?
We're putting it all in the 2-day. We're still getting numbers in. We're still getting some finalization numbers in for our tax collection, our revenues, and things like that, so just a little slow.
I do have concern having just a 2-day budget workshop where I don't have numbers in front of me, that I don't
Feel like that would give me enough time to go over everything and make sure I can make a fair decision on how the budget should work. I'm not sure if we can work on somehow getting numbers to us ahead of that date and not just giving us a 2-day fast grade thing. I think
that's a fair statement, and I think we will maybe cut that into 2 days, 2 independent days, if we need to. When are we gonna have our numbers firmed up, do you think? I hear your concern, and let us rework the calendar, see, maybe we can keep the 2-day workshop, because I know y'all have scheduled it, and then just give you information earlier, so you have time to go through it before the workshop.
Just a binder or something that we can look at would be at least better than nothing, I would say.
I agree, even if our numbers are preliminary, they're not, by that point, they won't change much. As you know, there's a lot of protest on property values and things like that, and it's kind of going to be a significant number this year. It potentially is, but we're going to budget conservatively, so we'll at least give you conservative numbers in plenty of time to review before then.
Thank you.
Share some of the same concerns. It's September, what meeting is it in September that we vote on budget?
Yeah.
It's just a lot to cram in.
It is, it really is. That's why we're gonna go ahead and get the hot funds out of the way. That's gonna be a pretty good set number, pretty easy projection. And if there's other little things along the way that we can do, we'll do those things. But I hear your concern, and we work with those numbers all day. And so we'll try to get you.
It's a lot to digest.
It is, and we'll get it to you. We'll get it to you in plenty of time. You will have time. I'm not going to ask you to make a decision on the fly. So I don't want you to make a decision on the fly.
Okay. Anything else?
Yes. Our new finance director is starting on the 10th. So we're all ready for him to show up.
I imagine. And he knows this is right at budget time.
Yeah, does he know what time?
He's a
No,
brave,
we're not telling him.
a
We're going to
brave
surprise
person.
him. We're going to surprise him.
All right. Anything else?
No, sir.
Next item on the agenda is reports from council. One.
Just working with a few residents out in the Wardona area, there's obviously a lot of concern related to public safety, related to the the tragic death of Mr. Flores. So, definitely trying to put information out there. And then there's a lot of public concern coming in related to the bypass detours and the effect that's going to have on those adjacent streets. Recently, for example, 12th Street, they were wanting signs posted for speed limits and things like that to potentially reduce some of those, issues that may occur. So working with the county as that area is within their jurisdiction, and we're hoping to, alleviate some of that for them.
If you have anything that we need to reach out to Tech Stop for, be sure and let me know. We'll get whatever we need to done down there.
Yeah, I reached out to David today, so we're just going to move forward with that and see how he can assist.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Ward 2?
I'll keep it short since I'm remote, but want to apologies for the kind of last minute trip out of town for a work-related opportunity. Thank you for accommodating me to be able to come in remote. Was able to take the hard hat tour of the new City Hall. Appreciate Kimberly and Vanessa kind of listening to me as I kind of walk through the building, and of course I always got new ideas as the new person walking in for the first time. But they've made a lot of really amazing progress. It's going to be a really amazing asset for the community for a very long time, and so I was very pleased with the growth potential that the building has in it. Not just saying it's a 50-year building, but it has a lot of opportunity for expansion as needed as staff grows, or if staff grows. Don't want to make that assumption. And then beyond that, just thank you to staff. Been throwing quite a few constituent concerns your way, and y'all done a great job of knocking those out, as priorities are being balanced across the community. And just thank you for your diligence on that. This constituents see that, and they appreciate that progress is being made. That's all I've got, Mayor. Thank you.
Ward 3?
We got a busy weekend. I don't know if y'all know it or not, but it's 4th of July coming up, and that's kind of a big deal for Rockport. So everybody take a deep breath. Welcome everybody into town, and just go to HEB before Friday. Be safe out there. It's hot. Appreciate staff and everything that they're doing. It's brutal. So just stay safe, and let's have a good 4th of July. Thank you.
Ward 4?
I guess the only thing I report is I did have a meeting last week with part of my ward with the Rockport Country Club, and we had a couple of the HOA and the RCC come in, and we had a good meeting about what we can do to prepare for rain events or hurricanes coming up in during the season. It went really well. Good discussion and good ideas came about it. So I want to say thank you to Mike and to Vanessa for attending that meeting and having that with us. I think everyone left happy. And then on top of that, just as Councilman Brundart said, it's July 4th, so just be safe on the roads. It's going to be a lot of people out there. Just enjoy it, and at the same time, just please be safe, because it will be a busy, busy weekend. So thank you.
As we reported last time we had a meeting, we talked about the legislative update that we attended in Georgetown a couple, 3 weeks ago. We're still reviewing, or I've been reading a lot of work that the legislature is still doing, since they're having an added session and will apparently just starting another one. And the legislature did a lot of things this year that will have major effect on cities, and some of it negative, some of it good, and they're not through yet. So we're still reading that and seeing what TML has to say about it and what the attorneys for TML are telling us to be aware of. And that could, some of those things may have a serious effect on cities and their ability to do the things that we normally do. So we will be keeping that in mind. Other than that, I don't have anything else. City Council will hold an executive session pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code in accordance with the authority contained in Section 551071, consultations with attorneys seeking the advice of attorney about pending or contemplated litigation or a settlement offer, and on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the Texas disciplinary rules of the professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with this chapter, A, Concho Street and General Land Office GLO drainage projects, and B, stormwater permitting and related matters. It is 7:16 and we're in executive session.
to adjourn.
Second.
Have motion second, we're adjourned.